Just pearly things come out of nowhere and amass a fervent following with takes like these.
Women are fatter than ever before, we're older than ever before, and we're less useful than ever getting married, and we have more bodies than ever. So we bring less to the table than ever. How many women have a cookbook?
This is something that Candace Owens been doing since King Hatchet was a hammer, and that has rendered her one of the most visible black conservatives in the Western Hemisphere.
The feminist movement has nothing to do with women. It has nothing to do with trying to help women at all. They just like to still use the word feminism so that you can't attack it, right? Or else you're a sexist and you hate women.
Now let's see who you really are.
Basically, I'm a hoe, I need dick.
Andrew Tate!
That's all I'm interested in.
And what say you, Candace?
I don't know what the hell I'm talking about.
Kermit the Frog! Jordan Peterson.
I have a low IQ.
This prosaic skit is meant to articulate the research question of this video essay. Are these femmes spitting femininity, or is it something else? Stop typing! Foreign! You clamor in the comments, weeping with rage. Why am I, the cissus of het men, to ever tread this moribund mortal coil, talking about femininity? Well, my sweet summer child. You're about to find out why. You see, remember this clip from Brittany Renner?
What do you gain from telling girls that they're not special? How does that make you feel? I mean, I know everything is a joke, but I'm asking you a real question. So how does that make you feel? Because if I say you're that does something for me, right? If I insult you, or if I tell you you're not special, you're forgettable. Again, you're forgettable. That's why I didn't want to do you guys' podcast. Forgettable. Hate the setup. The name is underwhelming. I didn't really see the value in it.
Now, first off, this clip has been scrubbed off of the internet and supplanted by pretty much only manospheric commentary of the actual video. Even Hassan Nabi covered this, which is not surprising because the only thing that this man loved more than black people business is eating hummus while watching a Jay Aubrey video and going to the bathroom to piss. Brittany of the Renners. One of the most ostensible IG models. A career path that is loathed by these incelic trolls that couldn't even get a follow back from these femmes. Brittany went from an IG model to standing up for countless casualties at the hand of the Fresh and Fit podcast. This gal stood up against Myron. Foreign from the future editing this right now. I want to take a second to acknowledge and apologize for the ableism in that Freudian slip just now. I'm sorry. Please don't cancel me. I mean, come on, give me a break, man. I literally just donated and helped raise money for my big trans folk them so I could deflect warranted criticism like Caffles. Anyway, back to Brittany's appearance on the Fresh and Fit podcast that rendered her a feminist icon overnight. The title of a feminist icon may be one that is not warranted because just a month or so ago, she did this.
As a former loud and proud man hater!
Brittany Renner made a video in the car.
Why is they always in a car? If you feel the urge to record in your car, maybe don't.
And this video would be no different from the litany of videos that were made in cars and aged like milk. Because Brittany Renner would go on to make a testimony about the 5 game changes as a recovering
Man hater! Here are 5 things that have changed the game for me. Number 1, I realized I didn't hate men. I hated the way I allowed myself to be mistreated by men. Big difference, right? You're not a victim. You are a participant. And when you point the finger, you miss out on the opportunity to grow.
And this point at face value, it ain't so bad, you know. Accountability is awesome, actually. And it's important for you to be able to see your part in the problem. But my big and be them women, them and man, them, listen to me. We quickly descended into skullduggery territory thereafter.
Number 2, I stopped saying I didn't need a man. Because if I want a relationship with a man, then I need one, right? Okay, that's that on that.
You want a relationship. You don't need a relationship. This is coded language in the anti-SJW spaces directed towards feminist theory. The I don't need a man mantra is in direct response to the patriarchal requirement that had femmes in a literal rear naked chokehold. This is before and after women's suffrage and the disenfranchisement of femmes worldwide. You couldn't vote, you couldn't own land, you couldn't open up a damn bank account as a femme without a man. Fast forward to today, where despite the many attempts to roll back the saunters in suffrage, femmes do not need a man, hence the phrase. And it's a phrase that many men, like myself, as well as other femmes, needed to hear.
If you are a woman and you're out working, your relationship isn't going to work. Because that's why they say that, because they don't want women to be working. They don't want women to realize that theoretically can make it on their own, that it is possible. And that's why they're like, oh, well, your relationship isn't going to work if you do that. But actually, it can work. Many people do that. In fact, there are many men who are attracted to that.
But the reason why a femme parroting this patriarchal point is so pernicious is that men have been spouting this anti-feminist frameworks and rhetoric from time. However, even they realize that some femmes may not be receptive to that message simply because it's the wrong messenger. So misogynist men need feminine figures like Brittany Renner, like Candace Owens, like Pearl, to add some feminine authority to the misogynist things they say.
3, you can't be that serious about getting picked.
There's the word. There's it right there. She said the title.
If you're not in the gym at least 3 times a week. You don't even take care of yourself, so how would you expect someone to take care of you?
This enumeration assumes that femmes' default state is not enough. She doesn't acknowledge the possibility that femmes may not want a man in the first place, hence my last point. But furthermore, she doesn't see the gym as a place for mental, emotional, or physical health. She sees it as a matrix for desirability, which reeks of anti-fatness. But beyond that, it's also very harmful advice for femmes that are watching her and hoping to achieve her level of desirability. A level that you have no idea what boss battles, skill buffs, and brushes with death she had to undergo simply to achieve it.
She has the right intention sometimes, but like, it's clear she's not doing research on like women before her that probably like were inspired to start saying the things she was saying. They have very valid reasons to be cautious of men and dislike men as a whole. But when they talk about it, it just comes from whatever they think about and then whatever their friends think. And that's all the research they put into it, which is fine. But then you give people like social media, so then they blast this to other people. And the only kind of like certification they have is just the fact that they're like really confident.
Number 4, I stopped entertaining stragglers. And stragglers are guys you meet along the way that you know you're not really ever going to take seriously, but you use them for your own personal entertainment. Number 1, that's wrong. Number 2, you're sending a mixed message. Stay committed to what you want.
So, some nuance. I agree that folks engaging with one another ought voice explicitly their expectations. So if she looking for marriage and I looking to she should know that. But for the love of Black baby Jesus, can we please make some room, make some space for relationships that don't look like what society normalizes? Polyamory, no armory, a friggin' friendship, because those are normal things too. And so are 2 adults enjoying one another's company consensually without the possibility of marriage looming over their heads.
Number 5, accountability. Ooh. I analyzed my behavior and what parts of me resonated with these men I deemed problematic. I'm here to tell you that the call is coming from inside the house, and it's time to pick up.
This new offering from Brittany left many of her newfound fans that enjoyed when she stood up to Myron and I forget the other boy name. It left them extremely crestfallen. The journey between these 2 Brittany's seemed almost canyon-esque in distance. Yet one may wonder if these 2 Brittany's were ever a block between each other.
Perhaps she did always have like this belief, but less extreme. And what the whole Fresh and Fit was less about standing up for women and maybe just standing up for herself. Maybe it was more about ego and her as an individual. Perhaps she wasn't doing it from a feminist angle for women, but more just like, you don't get to insult me. Or you could say, if I'm being really cynical, it's a grift. I mean, being a woman who drinks the manosphere juice, that sounds really weird. You're a token, right? It's like being... Yes. Candace Owen around a bunch of racist white people. I mean, they love her. They love her.
The women have now decided that promiscuity is a sign of freedom. So women are saying, we'll give it to you for free. We will have sex with whoever we want. We will take our clothes off whenever we want. Please explain to me how men are losing.
Men have wanted women to think that they want sex like we do. No, commitment is completely unnecessary. Oh, really? You gotta be kidding. The women bought the feminist lie. You're just like men. But they get depressed when they act like men.
You're a huge asset to that, and telling men what they want to hear, I imagine, is very lucrative. I wouldn't know because I don't tell them what they want to hear.
Not every femme is a feminist. My emendations of Brittany's enumerated manifesto of man hater in recovery have gone beyond the margins, when really this was just to illustrate the starting point of a rabbit hole that I bunnied myself into in hopes of understanding and apprehending the knowledge as to why would a femme regurgitate patriarchal points that are in direct contrast with her best interests. But more importantly, why I have a masculine urge to address this. Am I the right person to be making this video when videos like Chad Chads exist? Then it dawned on me. Of course I am. Because patriarchy has no gender. And for all of my palm-colored comrades, listen up. Let me let you in on a little secret. Let's set the scene. You watching a Khadija Umbo video or an FD Signify video, and you see in the description a Will to Change by Bell Hooks. And giddily, you scour the page so you could find a quote that you could post on Twitter to show us that you are trying to decolonize your mind. But as soon as you attribute and ascribe the quote to a capital B and H Bell Hooks instead of a lowercase b and H Bell Hooks, congratulations, you just played yourself. It's the same self-report as pronouncing this surname as Dubois rather than Du Bois. Is it pedantic? No, because I think it's performative. Much like these videos of pick-me's that I'm about to show you. You love the segue. Say you love the segue. Put in the comments that you love the segue. It may be no surprise that I'm a fan of feminism, especially of the intersectional variety. But it may be more helpful to understand femininity first. And instead of me mansplaining it, I found it fit to ask femmes themselves what their idea of femininity was.
I would say femininity are the true being a keyword, qualities, characteristics of a woman, the very essence of our being, who God has created us to be.
Is something you can opt into sometimes. It could be an aesthetic. It's a variety of aesthetics right now. I am definitely someone who is like feminine presenting, I identify as a woman. To me, femininity still is like participating in like hair, makeup, dressing a certain way, certain like gendered colors that are gendered now.
I see femininity as the expectations around womanhood. And there are people who view femininity and masculinity as these kind of essences and these energies and these traits. And I would argue that we associate them with the genders, right? Mm-hmm. We think something's masculine because we associate it with men. We think something's feminine because we associate it with women, like the idea of nurturing and that kind of thing. Yes, men can be nurturing, but why is nurturing feminine? Why? Like, why is that the case?
I'm loving the plurality of these definitions because they garishly contrast with the analysis, if you could call it that, of someone like Matt Walsh. Because you asked three different women from different backgrounds what femininity is, and you'll get three different answers. Now, feminism, on the other hand, is defined by Webster as the advocacy of women's rights on the basis of equality of the sexes. But we know some nuance would render that definition a bit different. And I think that this is a semantic issue that caused a lot of men to take up issue with feminism in itself, because they see it as antithetical to their benefits as men. In political science, a frame of analysis that this could best be understood through is rational choice theory. And trigger warning for uttering the words of Adam Smith, but it could be traced back to him.
Recall the lessons of Adam Smith, the father of modern economics.
In competition, individual ambition serves the common good.
Exactly.
Every man for himself, gentlemen.
And those who strike out are stuck with their friends.
Essentially, it assumes that human beings will behave in accordance with their best interests, or at least what they think it is. Ergo, if we look at men's relationship with feminism, one would ask, why would a man be interested in advocating for women's rights? And that's the problem with not only this interpretation, but rational choice theory in itself. Hot take. Because it's rooted in the opinion that for you to win, I must lose. It doesn't acknowledge the symbiosis of a disenfranchised group getting some enfranchisement. Imagine, bear with me now, just stay with me. Imagine if you enfranchise literally half of the working class. Even capitalism loves that. But the gangrene root that spouts many trees is the problem being patriarchy. From a realist perspective, and I'm speaking from the International Relations School of Thought, think Thomas Hobbes, who assumed that life was nasty, brutish, and short. This perspective assumes the worst of humanity. And from a realist perspective of this situation, patriarchy would snuff out feminism any chance it got, because it directly undermines the very foundation of patriarchy as it enfranchises femmes. So for men that enjoy their patriarchal privilege to the point where they would think they're being marginalized if it was taken away from them, how do you convince them to enfranchise femmes? Therefore, agents of patriarchy see people like Candace Owens and Pearl as useful to their mission of spreading patriarchy and reinforcing it and bolstering it. Thus, the patriarchal pick-me was born.
90%. You'll see one day, and I've talked to women about this flip, you'll hit 50 and you'll be invisible to men. And because 90% of the men that are talking to you are trying to sleep with you. Like, gain 100 pounds, you'll be invisible. Get to 55, you're invisible to men. And so
the feminist movement is considered very radicalized because there are many women, especially conservative women, who just don't feel that way. We don't feel burdened by children and merit. Feminism has made it seem like there's something wrong with being a mother, that there's something wrong with being a wife.
This is another great point by Candace, and it's one that I really want to hone in on, because as much as I don't like the attack on masculinity, another thing that I really dislike is the attack on femininity. I feel like women get attacked just as much by radical feminists as men do. Because if you're a woman who has truly traditional values and you feel as though your sole purpose in life is to raise children, make no mistake, you are an enemy of the feminists. Just like we need men who are crawling through tunnels and fixing toilets and working at heights, we need women who are going to be nurturing good people.
It's no surprise to see Pearl's meteoric rise to fame in the wake of Andrew Tate, because it follows the exact blueprint of someone like Candace Owens. Yes, yet again, a black woman trailblazing trends, who, in this very last clip, was literally used as a mouthpiece, a pivot point for a white man to bolster patriarchy. And what is so repulsively repugnant is that he frames his grift as an altruistic concern for femininity. Because in this case, femininity constitutes an array of boxes to tick. And those boxes, after ticked, illustrate a particular picture that is in alignment more with desirability, the white feminine ideal, than femininity itself, a standard that a white supremacist and cis-normative society sets for femininity, which is a standard that is in direct correlation with an honorary, unimposing, and supplementary brand of womanhood. And that mold is thin, white, and little to no opinions, which is why I found it fit, pun intended, to talk with Tara. I wanted to know how she was treated by men in particular due to her proximity to the feminine ideal.
I have not always been comfortable with this because obviously I'm a white lady, and like, you know, when you first hear about white privilege as a white person, you get defensive. Like, of course I went through that phase, whatever, when I was a teenager or whatever. Whereas now, I don't even bat an eye. I'm like, yeah, of course. Same with being able-bodied and thin. However, the one that I still to this day am a bit like, I don't think I have this privilege, or if I do, I don't feel comfortable saying it. Pretty privilege. In a very British way, am like, that feels like the most obnoxious thing in the world to be like, I have pretty privilege. I suppose in admitting that you have it, it's not saying that you think you're hot shit and you're better than everyone else. It's what you were talking about earlier, is that you are closer to this feminine ideal. Like when I first joined YouTube, I was growing out a buzz cut and everyone assumed I was a lesbian, which I had no issue with because I was like, well, that's half true. I've noticed in that now that I've appeared more femme looking, I do get like more doors open for me and like more smiles on the street.
We stand the self-aware cow that finally made an appearance to assuage our concerns of her well-being. Understand that this is a joke. I am not calling Tara a cow, but it's important to understand how a paucity of benefits that femmes can get under patriarchy can be a very compelling deterrent to stop them from actually divesting in it altogether. Especially for white folks, because their investment in patriarchal white supremacist society is far deeper than other races. Thus, even with Tara's queer status providing a difficulty for patriarchy to reconcile with, her countenance and corpus make her a prime candidate for patriarchal pick-me. But Tara opted out of the patriarchal pick-me pipeline, which is more than Pearl can say.
The average at best girl had been told she was average before, it wouldn't have been such a shock. If she actually had to deal with reality, she wouldn't have had to call into some random guy's YouTube show to be told she can't get a six-figure guy. But that's what happens when you let women live in delusion for too long, is they start thinking they're qualified for something they're not.
Pearl must have been possessed by the ghost of the late Kevin Samuels because she's literally parroting his words. Now let me make a sharp transition to Daria's remarks on how men receive her, given her proximity to femininity.
Well, first I would say I don't think femininity is something that you just switch on and switch off. To say, I'm going to use this to get a resource or something. But I do believe in the whole idea of pretty privilege. I do. It's obvious. It's in the world. I would say me being fully immersed, or as much as I could be in femininity, has allowed me to get favors and benefits. So for me, I think a big part of realizing my femininity is becoming more gentle with people, a bit more graceful. And people are drawn to that because today that's kind of a rare thing where when women now want to be so assertive and aggressive and out there and this big independence, but no, I don't really do that as much. It's there when I need it. But for the most part, I find that being gentle and calm-spirited, that's a big aspect that I'm working on and learning, has allowed me to get a lot of favors outside of beauty or my appearance. So, yeah.
And keeping in mind that Daria and I are local to the Bahamas, white supremacy over here hits a little bit different. It's important to note how immersed the Caribbean is in social conservatism and gender norms. Daria's comments on being gentle as radical in a society where independent and assertive women are normal sound similar to the points made earlier about the failure of feminism for femmes. The execration of not needing men and the lionization of conservative gender norms. And I want to be abundantly clear that this perspective is not unique to Daria, so I will not be tolerating any misogyny. Black people across the diaspora have been endowed with colonial ideals that have manifested into today. And I want to put an emphasis on endowed, because we did not come up with this. And even with independence, we still cling to these colonial ideals. This is your reminder that colonizers created these dogmas in order to better subjugate people. And this makes for a much more arduous and laborious battle, because no longer are you trying to fight with the very obvious white supremacists. You're fighting with people that look like you. And these internalized colonial attitudes are also why particular groups of people, such as the passport bros, idolize and lionize women that are not local to the United States. Because there's this notion that, like Daria being a Caribbean woman, they have not internalized the feminist waves that have tainted American or European women. Which is why it's no surprise that Pearl denigrates Western women.
Like, must watch. Western women, we're not ride or dies. It's like one problem and we're out. And especially, like, you didn't even emotionally cheat. How do we expect? But like, I don't think you could really expect monogamy. I don't think you can expect monogamy if you're not a virgin. Like, I think you deserve monogamy if you're a virgin, but if you're not, like, you're kind of cheating on your future husband.
I think. Yeah. But not only is this not true, due to the matriarchal girl boss mentality many Caribbean women have had to cultivate due to institutions such as the Project, which removed Bahamian men out of the household in order to work in Florida, ergo leaving Bahamian women to fend for themselves off the little to no remittances from those displaced workers. But beyond that, these self-proclaimed patriarchal alpha males can't even live up to the standard that they set for themselves. They are not the parodies of masculinity that they advertise. And they're definitely not the beacons of capitalist adeptitude that they claim to be. Because a passport bro got stranded in the Dominican Republic and he had to grift his way back to the United States. You gotta watch this with me. Come, let's watch
basically,
this.
I need a cash app, guys. I need a cash app. What up, y'all? I'm here, still in DR. I missed my flight last night. I just got off the phone with Spirit. I'm waiting on them to call me back. It's $100 reschedule fee. Basically, I need a cash app, guys. I need a cash app to try to get this fee together, man. I'm so sick right now. I'm sick as hell. I've been trying to call Kayla because I know she's like in the area. So I was trying to call her to like set something up to where I can get like some actual money because I'm hungry. I have very little bread left. I maybe got like $15. I'm just calling on the subscribers now to see can I get another 100 to
It's important to note that not every woman is a feminist. Feminism is not the default. Not every action or word by a woman is a feminist action or word. In fact, as Bell Hooks argued in A Will to Change, many women uphold patriarchy. But you see many people on social media attributing the term feminist to people like Brittany Renner without actually understanding and comprehending the term in itself, which is why we have choice feminism. And choice feminism essentially stipulates that any choice that a woman makes is feminism. No analysis, no thought process, just vibes, which can grant authority to ideas and concepts that are rooted in regressive patriarchy, but coming from a woman's mouth. Putting people like myself in a very precarious situation because would I look like arguing with a femme about feminism or femininity, which is a fair criticism until you understand that patriarchy has no gender, nor does femininity, nor does masculinity. But stick a pin in that because I want to discuss femininity as currency. Can't believe I'm saying this. But let's talk about soft life.
Hey you guys, this is how to live the soft life.
Okay, so I want to make a quick message for people who are struggling through their soft girl era.
I read a quote today that said, caring for myself is not self-indulgence, it's self-preservation.
Soft life, aka black girls in luxury, aka the divestment community, low-key. Let's get into it. Many black femmes have been subscribing to this movement as of late.
At first, I thought it was just something that like desirable women, usually lighter skin, that participate in like, glam and beauty and just black girl luxury. We're kind of rebranding that into soft life. Like, oh, we want to, black women, we're so tired of being strong. We need to be soft kind of thing. So that's what I thought it was. And then till I found out that it was like a Nigerian term. Some people, I don't know if Nigerians use it like this, but they use these terms like soft life in order to justify capitalism. And it's so weird because it's like you're still working a lot. Like you're soft life, you're black girl luxury, but you're posting content 24/7. You gotta go get your hair done. Like when does the soft life actually start sometimes?
Leave it to a channel by the name of Fab Socialism to basically say that soft life is capitalism. But she's right though. It's patriarchal capitalism with a filter. Patriarchal capitalist core. And Tiana is so right because a soft life requires hard work. One way or another.
Do y'all be selling pussy? I just want to know. Do y'all soft life girls be selling pussy? Because how do y'all do nothing but y'all have everything? How y'all always in Chanel and Birkins but you ain't selling that booty? Like, I want y'all to come on here sometimes and tell the truth because y'all got these girls glorifying this soft life lifestyle when y'all be doing hard time in that bed wearing that pussy the fuck out.
So I spoke with Daria, a femme that subscribes to the soft life. And it was interesting to listen to how she reconciled with living a soft life that she provides for herself because she's single.
Baby, I'm a soft girl. And I am single.
But how do you have a soft life if it's not being taken care of?
That's not the only basis of being in the soft life. Like I said, it's a mindset. You can take care of yourself. It's wellness. It's confidence. I think a part of it would be dating someone in your standard or your range. So it could be like a mutual thing. I feel like in a lot of relationships where girls feel like they're in their masculinity, outside the soft life is when they're providing and doing everything on their own. because they are not with someone, they're not in sync with somebody where it could be a mutually beneficial relationship. It's very one-sided. But for the soft life also can vary, because for me, I'm like I said, I'm single, but I feel like I'm still in myself. Like, I'm well taken care of. I take care of myself, but mentally, I am in a place where I'm at peace. I feel like I exude my femininity. I'm well immersed in that. But the soft life could look different for someone who's with a person. For them, the whole well taken care of, I'm a flower type of thing. It's based on your standard, I would say.
So essentially, this boils down to a game of semantics. Thanks, postmodernism. Many soft life subscribers achieve this lifestyle through a method that is old as time itself, and that is hypergamy.
I asked someone the other day, we were talking about this, and I asked him, would you want your daughter to date someone that can't take care of her? And he was like, no. I said, so why are you bashing women for choosing to get security? Why are you bashing? Think of it. If your daughter brings you someone who has, I don't want to discredit man, but no job, probably no car, and doesn't have a vision for themselves, you want your daughter dating that? And he was like, no. I said, so why are you saying women, oh, she only after the money? Why are you getting mad at that? If I want security, if I'm choosing to have a life where I'm secured, love, I'm sorry, is not enough for marriage. You gotta be able to take care of me and support me. That is also a part of your job. Like, that's just what it is. Of course, I'm able to provide for myself. I'm not saying it's a one-sided thing, but I'm also saying I don't like how people ridicule women for choosing a standard of their life. If you can't provide it, then move on. But don't ridicule someone for what they choose.
I wholeheartedly agree that the gold digger accusations are very overblown. It is a well-known manospheric pain point where men frame women as bursary black holes, only satisfied by a financier. And the men that are discussing this are hypothetically and hyperbolically talking about a scenario and fear-mongering it because it is not as widespread as they claim that it is. That being said, we see a particular adherence to gender norms in this analysis. It is your job to provide as a man. Many of you already know that this is a conservative talking point that is doused and rooted in religious doctrine. But shouldn't be a surprise because Daria said herself that she is grown up and still is a fervent Christian. And let me be clear, I bear no qualms with these adherence to gender norms, so long as it's an option and not a demand.
If the main focus isn't, am I compatible? Do I love this person? Do I enjoy being with? If it stops being about the person and about what they have, as you say, that threatens the fundamentalism of the relationship. I think another thing that's dangerous about the whole, okay, hypergamy, here's how you get a rich man, and this comes from both women that advise it and men who advise it, is that you are expected to pay a price. Okay, yeah, you get this nice life, but the price is you have to be endlessly anxious about your body. You have to spend loads of money, and time on your beauty routine. And that's something I observed in the stay-at-home girlfriend trend, that they were very fixated on keeping up their appearance because they're like, well, my boyfriend's out working. The least I could do is be this. And as you say, being treated badly and cheated on, like that clip with Brittany on Fresh and Fit. Yeah. How Myron was saying, well, you've got a rich man. In return, you've just got to accept the fact he's going to sleep with other people. If you are someone who aims to be self-fulfilled, you don't have to settle as much in relationships because you are self-sufficient and you are independent. And that's why I think that should be encouraged to women. Like, get your own savings, make your own money, and therefore you can have more freedom on who you get to pick to be with, and you get to be with them because you want to, not out of necessity.
I often think of my nana and my dada as an example of a hypergamous relationship. And not to pick on my grandfather, because he immigrated from Turks and Caicos at 16 on a floating door and came to the Bahamas so that he could provide a better life for not only himself, but his family. And my nana stood by his side even until the bitter end. In fact, after the end. But that position entailed a litany of abuse and hardships. And I worry that women that are showcasing this profligate lifestyle are not showing the rest of the frame. And a great example of these hypergamous femininity models are people like Lori Harvey. For years, Miss Harvey has been in the limelight for reasons unbeknownst to me, outside of her relation to her stepfather, Christian chauvinist, trigger warning, Steve Harvey.
Men cheat because women allow them to. Elaborate. I mean, you know, look, women ask that question all the time. You know, that's one of the biggest questions. You know, why do men cheat? But I mean, it's really because there are so many women out there willing to cheat with them.
Hi, my name is Debbie DeHunt. How do you get your husband to stop nagging you?
Oh, very good question.
Her husband nags.
Yeah.
That's new.
You're taking, if I might be so bold, a sexist position that only women are nags. Not for nothing, Steve, but that's...
Well, Joy...
That's what I'm hearing.
Maybe the position I'm taking is maybe you should check your husband's man card.
His man card?
Well, just maybe he's not the rough and tough and tumble guy you thought you married. What's he nagging for?
What are you saying?
Because men aren't supposed to nag, is what I'm saying.
You're an attractive woman. There are some guys somewhere saying, yeah, we're friends. No, that's not true. He's your friend only because you have made it absolutely clear that nothing else is happening except this friendship we have. We remain your friends in hopes that one day there'll be a crack in the door, a chink in the armor, and trust and believe that guy that you think is just your buddy, he will slide in that crack the moment he gets the opportunity.
Because
we're
most
guys.
men think this way?
99.9% of us think that way.
Lori Harvey is known for her proximity to some of the most eligible bachelors in Hollywood. She's controversial for doing exactly what men have been doing for eons. She goes on dates with people in her circle, a circle that is populated by mostly rich celebrities. And while Lori gets a lot of flack for simply engaging with men in a public fashion, I grip my pearls. Her proximity to the feminine ideal allows for her to be a de facto ambassador for black girl luxury.
Lori is also kind of short, and I think we've seen this with Megan Thee Stallion. Megan Thee Stallion is like, if she was not like my height, which is 5'10", she probably would be seen as someone who's more like deserving of care if she wasn't bigger than a lot of like other women and other men. Because though like I'm not necessarily dark skinned, like I'm a brown skinned woman. But I feel like my height has contributed to why so many people give me this maturity I never had to work for. Like, I just so happen to be mature, but everybody thinks like, oh, I'm the smartest, I'm the best because I'm taller. So they just think like I'm more mature. If I was like 5'2", people would probably just think I'm a regular girl. Because Lori Harvey, she's short, she's like slim, thick, kind of. She used to be thicker. She lost a lot of weight. Then people were trying to do the things she did to lose weight. And the way she was eating was little to nothing in order to lose more weight, which was a problem there. Not trying to diagnose her, but like the fact that she was also aspiring to an ideal was so ridiculous. And then she already comes from a family with so much money. And again, like you said, she's going to have eligible bachelors that other people will never have access to. They like to tell girls, go get a drink in a fancy hotel and sit by the bar. Go to like fancy events. Similar to with Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle met Harry because she was able to afford certain Wimbledon tickets to even be seen by him in a like miraculous seat. Like, what? These things are not by an accident. You don't just accidentally bump into all the men that Lori Harvey has bumped into. Lori Harvey's mom, she's also a part of that too, of like kind of dating up. Like her mom is like this like lighter skinned, kind of desirable woman. I feel like for people like Steve Harvey, like he says she walked in a room and he immediately knew he was going to marry her. Why? Because she was desirable, not because it was her aura. You saw her skin, her eyes, her straightish hair. Lori Harvey barely even has a curl pattern. So it's like, I'm sure Lori Harvey's mom was like, you know, you're my daughter. This is some of my advice. This is how I got this rich man. Here's what you can do to get a rich man. And Lori Harvey has dated nothing. Like, this is the biggest thing that I think women sleep on is going for men who are football players, like international football players. They are so rich. Like, people who play football, like, they are richer than NBA players will ever be. Any football. So rich. And guess who's Lori Harvey was ever first engaged to? A football player. She was doing it before people even knew this was where the money really was. This girl is not exactly. She is not basic by any means. She don't need no coaching. She know what she's doing. So the fact that now people whose parents can't even pay for a medical emergency think they're going to have some sort of same track record.
It is difficult for even the most beautiful black femme by European beauty standards to achieve the feminine ideal due to how baked in anti-blackness is to that prototype. Ergo, Lori Harvey has to be twice as talented in the white supremacist hypergamous game in order to get but a modicum of what white femmes have been getting for years. And this is even with the well-resourced spawn point that she came from. She is still met with scathing criticism and Jezebel connotations reserved only for black femmes that date publicly in the spotlight. I take it back. It's not a spotlight. It's a target. And this point is only bolstered when looking at someone like Asia Doll, a dark-skinned black female rapper who does similar things to Lori, whilst also boasting accolades that Lori doesn't have, like an actual music career, yet garnering many a misogynoir and microaggressions from black and white people alike.
As well as it being colorism, I think another difference with how Lori and Asia are treated is that the rap aesthetic, and I'm sure there's like racism and classism in that, the rap aesthetic is not as respected. And I think female rappers aren't seen as feminine because rap is seen as like a man thing, even to this day. Female rappers, like by nature, they're literally speaking up. And people, I'm sure a lot of men and women see that and they're like, why is a woman talking so much?
Racial capitalisms have commodified coupling, and mediums such as Tinder and Grindr have only exacerbated that. While they definitely have democratized options for courtship across the world, these dating apps have also facilitated the devaluation and alloyment of romantic interest in itself. We may lament on the struggle that many men have claimed that they've had, where these dating apps have basically rendered them invisible. But we don't acknowledge how femmes have now had to cater to an interface that actively debases them. And with any social failing, the brunt is bore by black femmes. In a dating industry where black femmes are disproportionately marginalized. To find a reprieve, an oasis, from the shark-infested dating pool, some femininity gurus advise black femmes to divest in particular demographics in order to better their living circumstances. Listen to me. There are literal courses that are teaching black femmes how to procure white cishet men. There are videos that say if you are pregnant with a black boy, abort him. Lord, I could get demonetized. And if you've watched this video that I've made on interracial dating, then you know that that comes with a litany of different concerns. However,
there are certain like black women that do end up with white men, like a variety of different types of black women that do end up with white men. And it's just interesting. Like you can't even say that radical black women don't and then like uncritical conservative black women do. It's like a bunch of people for different reasons. And it's interesting. In real time, we're seeing people who have been hurt or who have been like just so caught up in white supremacy, and then they're just making content. Especially with black women, I think like black women sometimes have to make the best of what they have in terms of like, if someone is really open to like loving you in a way that isn't like harmful, then who cares who that is?
I hold space for femmes that have been hurt and essentially are looking to support groups in order to heal. But much like manospheric manholes that end up augmenting the anger rather than attenuating it, these spaces won't save you. There is a demand for repackaged patriarchy disguised as femininity. It's familiar, and it harks back to a time that you could look at nostalgically in rose-tinted lenses. The stay-at-home girlfriend trend disguising their demands like hate working, come back to the kitchen, be taken care of by a provider like God intended. And yet again, I do not poo-poo people that subscribe to traditional gender norms and relationships. In many ways, I'm in one right now. I support my wife and I as she pursues her degrees, much to her own protest and displeasure because she's been an independent black woman her whole life. She's been working longer than I have. And she's been raised to be independent so that men could not weaponize that power imbalance in a relationship. And if you speak to a lot of black femmes, you would realize that this is not unique. Whereas white femmes have historically been sent to college so that they could procure their engineering husband so that they don't have to work. It seems like black women knew that that wasn't a reality that they can rely on. And I can understand the envy of black femmes who see white femmes seemingly benefit from patriarchy and reaping the rewards of their docile femininity. But what is not shown is the abject and tangible dangers associated with financial dependency on men. The women of yore never complained, nor did they show their scars. They licked them in private. I know my nana never did. And even to this very day, you can't say a word about my grandfather. There's an investment of both parties in these power imbalance relationships to make it seem more luxurious than it actually is. And to make it worse, this new wave of patriarchy disguised as femininity has a progressive tint to it. Remember the I don't dream of labor trend? Remember the anti-capitalist bent it had to it? Did you realize that the solution to address this problem was a conservative one? Instead of femmes exclaiming that they don't dream of labor and then attacking capitalism, they instead embraced the soft girl era, the stay-at-home girlfriend. So one may think that we got this social revolution, but it wasn't what we needed. And all this at the risk of bastardizing feminism. It is imperative that we understand that feminism for everyone means something. It means we need to understand what it means, what patriarchy entails, the roles we play in it, and how we can try and navigate a new life. These social movements reveal how often our hashtags and Twitter campaigns are co-opted. Like the femmes that have co-opted femininity and turned into gurus that peddle patriarchy disguised as altruism for femmes. The thinly veiled dog whistles become plangent bugles as soon as the femininity performed is not patriarchy approved. Anyone can wield femininity, masculinity, any inity, because they're social constructs that we have made. Anytime you hear, as a man you should, or as a woman you should, please clothespin their mouths, because the dependent clause that follows may be noisome and may cause sickness, or worse, much like the vitriol that unctuously oozed like slime all across my timeline in the wake of A$AP Rocky and Rihanna's magazine cover, as well as Jonathan Major's ebony photo shoot. Discourse ensued on the Muskian hellscape known as Twitter about how these images are signifiers, signs of the times that black men are being emasculated, which I have many thoughts on. Hence my video, The Sassification of Black Men. Foreign, you probably bellowed. I desperately need to hear your takes on this controversial hot button issue, but I can't seem to find the video on your channel. Well, my big enemy them woman them and man them. That is because it is on my streaming service, Nebula. You gain access to exclusive videos like Philosophy Tube's magnum opus, The Prince, or exclusive bonus cuts from your favorite creators like Innuendo Studios or Neo. Stop! There's a sneak preview of the Nebula cut of this video after this, but you finish talking his skullduggery. But most of all, you get to fight for the most marginalized alongside me. Because, but for your support of sponsors like Nebula, I wouldn't be able to talk with you like I do. And if you sign up with my link right now, you get access to Nebula classes for free, where you can learn how I tell my stories, how Wendover persuades you, or how real life lore goes viral with mops. I'm obviously in the wrong niche. Tap on my link to get a 40% discount on annual plans that get as low as $250 a month. And tap there to learn more about this topic. I can see it here. You are now watching the Nebula Cut.
That's why it pisses me off when you see manosphere weirdos moan about this. They're like, this guy got sick and his wife left him. Women suck. But then they'll also, in the same breath, say, okay, a man, you just got to get someone hot with a tight bod. Bleh. Women, you just need to stay at home and get a rich guy. And I'm like, do you not see how you're creating this